Hello everyone, and welcome to another video. In this game, we're diving into Volibear gameplay post-nerf. Following the recent changes in patch 14.21, they hit him with just one nerf, a 2-second increase in his E cooldown. Today, we're going to explore exactly how this tweak affects our beloved bear. Enjoy the video. To get straight to the point, the real approach should have focused on Volibear's strengths rather than slapping a cooldown nerf on his E by 2 seconds. With the recent Rod of Ages and Navori Quickblade, the Brazilian build, Volibear has been gaining an insane lead, primarily because he can use his stun effectively in trades and layer that with strong sustain from heals and shields. The problem isn't the E itself, it's the stun. A champion who can repeatedly stun in fights will always be oppressive, yet instead of addressing the item interaction, they chose to nerf Volibear's cooldown directly, letting ADCs keep their precious items unaffected. So how does this impact Volibear? This cooldown increase means an extra 12 seconds in early clears across 6 camps, slowing his jungle tempo noticeably. Now, if you look at Riot's champion changes, their approach can be, let's say, mind-boggling. This nerf might feel like a first draft tossed out the door without a second thought. They make big plans, pouring resources and money, only to implement changes that sometimes backfire hilariously. Case in point, their recent nerf patch cut 1 second off Volibear's ultimate duration, promising compensation with extra E cooldown reduction and a dash of movement speed. What happened? Volibear emerged stronger than ever. So, then they adjusted by removing half of the bonus speed. Still, Volibear continued to shine. I would say you have the weirdest balance team in the history of gaming. To handle this latest patch and Volibear's changes, the best approach is to focus on his core strengths, rather than dwelling on the nerfs. Honestly, these nerfs are like a cheap shot. Annoying, but not game-breaking. Volibear remains a force in the early game with his reliable on-click stun, sustained scaling with health and his shield. Yes, he has some late-game issues with catch-up due to the high mobility meta, but his versatility shines through. My advice? Play Volibear aggressively in the early game. Sadly, against skilled junglers, the moment you commit to someone, they're lurking just around the corner to finish you off. Credit to Kayn here. He played it smart. I was low on HP and he had the vision advantage, so he got the jump on me. Plus, Kayn's kit lets him heal instantly, while Volibear needs a few hits in before his sustain kicks in. So yeah, well played by Kayn. It is clear that we're falling slightly behind in tempo from the early game in terms of farm and experience. At this point, we should focus on playing for the mid-game. We've already secured 2 grubs, which is good enough for now. If we can secure 2 more in the next encounters, we'll get the buff, and that is fair enough. So it's best to play smart here. As I mentioned earlier, if you're struggling, just do like Night Blue and camp bot side. In this match, our ADC had initially considered Caitlyn but ended up going with Jhin, my personal favorite after Vayne. Jhin is honestly one of the best designed champions in League of Legends, with a unique style and really fun gameplay. So I decided to help him out. He seemed confident, farming well, and I figured, let's make him a real threat in the mid-game. Now, I'd normally give some attention to top or mid, but top lane was already complaining before the game even began, saying things like, "Oh guys, I'm counter-picked. If I flash, I'll still lose. Kayle is useless." Like really? Just stop talking and focus. Mid lane, on the other hand, felt like a complete zombie. Might as well have been a bot using an AI coach to play. They made a few good plays here and there, but mostly it was like they weren't even present in the game. Another key aspect when facing Kayn is understanding his form choice. If he's going blue Kayn, he'll be targeting squishy champions on our bot side, so I shouldn't worry too much about him in direct fights. But if he's red Kayn, then he's likely looking for duels in the jungle. When that's the case, it's smart to avoid him until we hit our 3-item power spike. To counter red Kayn, focus on sustain. Go for builds with healing, as the fights will be prolonged. All in all, our team is shaping up with relatively solid players. Nami is on point, providing vision and pressure exactly where we need it, while Jhin is playing smartly, avoiding unnecessary deaths. The game is flowing in our favor, especially as Ahri keeps landing those charms. Some seem almost too well timed, but let's chalk it up to luck rather than hacks. Given how it's going, we should lean into our advantage by grouping and denying them any chance to isolate us. Their team comp is designed around strong solo players like Nasus, Yone, and Kayn, who thrive in 1v1s. So grouping up is our best counter. The plan is straightforward. We initiate with a bubble or a stun, follow up with a charm, and if they try to escape, Jhin is there to clean up. On paper, our composition is simple but effective, as long as we follow up on each play. I was initially expecting Nasus to split push this game, which would have added some extra pressure, but he actually stayed with the team, which was a relief. Given Kayle's constant complaining, I had doubts about how their matchup would play out. Eventually, I just muted Kayle and trusted my experience. In most cases, Nasus outscales Kale in the mid to late game, unless she rushes QSS for the CC, so I was confident that if we grouped and forced a team fight, we'd get the upper hand. What we feared just happened. Nasus managed to take down Ahri with just one item, and if he has presence of mind in his runes, mana shouldn't be a problem for him. I have to admit the dog made some good plays, and the Kayn was very hard to manage. At least not for Ahri, I assume. Well played, my friend. There's a lot of randomness in the game, so we need to focus the team on one goal: ending the game. To achieve that, we should utilize the Herald buff effectively. Luckily, Volibear is one of those champions that can maximize its potential to generate pressure and gold for both himself and the team. The key is to ensure that the minion wave is pushed slightly ahead, allowing for 2 or 3 shots on the tower, which will keep Herald alive for a third crash. However, if you time it right, like 2 minutes before Baron or Drake, you can safely take down 2 or 3 towers using your ultimate, retreat, and regroup later on with your ultimate ready. To be fair, this is totally a mistake on my part. I found myself 6 feet under because I thought I could outplay Yone with my fully stacked lethal and completed Riftmaker. Unfortunately, the new tempo isn't as reliable as the old one, so I ended up getting my face pushed in. I should have played a bit safer until I reached my 3rd or 4th item. But in situations like this, destiny sometimes gives you another chance. Occasionally, you'll face a brotherly foolish jungler who makes the same mistake you did, allowing you to even the playing field. And just like that, nothing too bad happened after all. I assume that right now the enemy team is flaming their Kayn so hard that they've basically thrown the game. I wanted to trade for the Baron, not fight for it, but after doing some research, I realized the E damage is capped at 650, with a smite of 1,200. That brings us up to about 2,000 damage if I time my spells correctly while staying alive to deal damage. Overall, the team played well and managed to secure the Baron buff safely, which helped us close out the game. Looking back, I'd say my build wasn't the best choice against Kayn. If I'd gone tanky, Kayn would have won the fights, but if I went for damage, Nasus would have taken me down. Finding the right build against their composition was tough, but the team held it together. Maybe if you guys have played more games against that similar comp, you can give me inputs on the right build go for. I had Trinity with Starax in my mind, but if you are not ahead, that build will take forever to complete. And with that, we wrapped up the game. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, and drop a like. Until the next video, take care everyone, and peace.